Continuing our discussion of pictorialism, this is another example by French photographer René Labouguer, Academy. So what does that mean? Academy means the school, the Academy of Fine Art, the standard, the authoritative organization for fine art, the organization that defines fine art. And this is a study, right? This is a study of a nude women, which is a very classical study, a very classical training in the academy. But that's mostly for painting, for sculpture. How does photography get into that clique? This is rather now, as I look at it, a rather very witty way of engaging himself. Through the negative, he's actually tried to leave his brushwork on the negative, using pen or whatever that's sharp, whatever tools that are sharp to scratch, right, to make sketches on the negative, right? In this case, around the nude women, around the body, to highlight the body, to highlight the lines of the curvilinear lines of the body, to give the shadows, right? To make the body, the volume of the body stand out, right? Through this brushworks, right? Intentionally left on the negative. So this is, and then as it developed, as it was, the photograph was developed, the film was developed, and this is the end product of that film. Or you can have a background that's totally set up into like a jungle with all the artificial plants around you in the background, staged with some kind of a silk or some kind of cloth covering, and the model walks in it, pose in front of the jungle, the artificial jungle, and Frank Eugene call it the cicada, right? How to explore human and nature, the difference between, or the connections between human and nature, as well as studying as a case study of the body, another very classical subject matter. And then we have this female artist, right? One of the very first female artists who had a commercial success, who's able to support herself, as well as contributing to the history of photography. Gertrude Casimir. And you can see Casimir's style being, a lot of them being women, the femininity subject, or motherhood, the connection between mother and child in a outdoor setting, the naturalistic incorporation with the motherhood, with the femininity, and or sometimes the domesticity, and that's the major topics that Casimir likes to engage in. And again, this is the design, specifically design soft focus in the nature, to try to review, right, as a picture book, try to review some kind of sentiment, some kind of motherhood or love within the family. And then there's another photographer, American photographer and teacher, who's a self-taught, began taking photographs in the late 19th century, and soon developed a style that showed the influence of Whistler, Sargent, or Japanese prints, artists, and movements that were prevalent, that were ongoing at the time. And he's tried to, through involving in this movement, artistic movements, Clarence is also trying to engage photography in the art world. And then we have this photo succession, which is after the pictorialism, which we'll expand and discuss more later. For example, we have the John Sargent painting right here, daughter of Edward Boyd. Daughters, each of them in this pretty well-established, well-decorated big house, big space. All the children's there, each of them occupying their own space inside of the house, shows some kind of melancholy, some kind of separation, even within the family. But Sargent's painted many portraits, and Clarence White was also exploring capturing portraits with photography. For example, photography capturing movements. In this case, and we have a comparison between Clarence White on the left and Gertrude Casimir on the left, on the right. Sorry about that. So actually, these two figures, they both important. They contributed, had a contribution to this pictorialism, to how to define photography, how to first of all embed that kind of sentiment, that kind of artistic emotion expression into photographs, and involved in that discourse of art. But also they are husband and wife. So this couple, they involved in the naturalism movement at the time, to capture the nature, and through the outdoors, through that kind of settings, through designing that outdoor setting, and then photographing it, they were able to embed that kind of sentiment into photographs. This is outdoor, and this is indoor depiction of the domesticity and the motherhood in this well-appointed home, right? This is showing this kind of they are models, right? They're not really some kind of a accidental moment that you are able to capture with your portable camera, but these are designed because they're designed like how a painting is designed. And you see this, for example, this mother, the movement of the mother, the posture of the mother, they were it was intended, dressing in white, and the girl dressing in black. This huge, the biggest, right? The Clarence White, Casimir was trying to create the biggest contrast between the two colors, right? With the mother in white, flowing in the gown, gently leans over to the girl, as if she's ready to send her daughter into this world. Or sometimes like Holland Day, this crucifix with Roman soldiers is trying to again evoke some kind of medieval or the religious topic, the Christian topic, the crucifix, right? The crucifixion of Jesus, but now with Roman soldiers, right? Have them dress up and even have this big build this big Prague in the middle of the wilderness to capture a scene like this, to design a scene like this, right? We've seen painting, doing topics like this. So I think Holland Day might just say, well, I think photography can do this as well, and just as good can do it as well as painting, as oil paint. So this is his way of giving his try. And also we have Edward Curtis, all these photographers that we discussed. Most of them, they were active at the late 19th century and early 20th century, because that's when the pictorialism or fermenting was bubbling up. And we have Edward Curtis, who's a studio photographer but interested in documenting the indigenous Native American kind of lifestyle, but with a trick to it. He's not trying to record like a reporter, record down all the information. He has his own opinion. He has his own vantage point. That is, he assumes, right, this Native Americans, their clan will vanish at some point in the future, and so he's already has an opinion to it, as his capturing all this, the chiefs or the clan when they were on the move. They're trying to capture, well, just like the title says, right? The vanishing race. That really captures literally his the sentiments that Edward Curtis wants to put in, right? To offer to this photograph. Horses, riding on horses, the clan, the Native Americans, they're leaving home or coming home on this very narrow road in the middle of the wilderness, riding horses, moving forward, bigger, smaller, until they disappear into the far mountains, right? Edward Curtis once said that I want this Native American to live forever. Well, which in other words just means I think, right? If I were Edward Curtis, then he's also saying that I think this group of people, this race, will not live forever, but I want to document them, I want to record them, but with some kind of opinion, some kind of perspective, some kind of bias, if you like, to it. So his photographing of the indigenous people has this tones of romanticizing, some kind of romantic tone. For example, again, soft focus, we're not changed to that manipulation during the pictorialism, the soft tone, the soft focus of the photographs, and the composition, right, and the loneliness in the middle of the mountains, that they're not in the city anymore, they're not the dominant race anymore. It's well, he's trying to offer them that kind of, or reveal his own empathy to this race, to this vanishing race. But at the same time, I don't know, deliberately or not, it's also dehumanizing this group of people. Right? So camera, this is very interesting thing about camera. That is, there's a picture playing to it. This picture playing, this camera, it's able to, first of all, it's able to frame. It's able to dictate what you can see only, and what you will not be able to see, because that would be outside of the picture frame. So for framing you onto a certain focus, and that's a way to create, for photographers, to create some kind of narrative. And also, so that's framing the narratives, framing your way of understanding the subject matter. But on the other hand, photography is also this, there's also picture playing, which is this surface between the viewer and whatever subject that's inside, between the picture, whatever content that's inside of this picture. And that picture playing really is able to create a distance, close or far, but the distance, to make you a audience, to make you a outsider of this race, of this vanishing race, or call it a tragedy if you like, to witness this this race getting into the mountains. So camera creates that distance. So through the pictorialism, the way they do it might sound a little, well, actually, I'll just go through the Finnish Edward Curtis and his ambitious documentation of the indigenous people first, before commenting on the pictorialism. So Curtis wrote that the scene of Navajo riding off into the distance showed that the Indians as a race, already shorn in their tribal strength and stripped of their primitive dress and passing into the darkness of an unknown future. The Navajo tribe, second only to the Sioux in numbers, have been the least affected by civilizing influences. The Navajo is the American Bedouin, the chief human touch in the Great Plateau Desert region in our southwest, acknowledging no superior, paying allegiance to no king in name of chief, a keeper of flocks and herds who ask nothing of the government but to be unmolested in his pastoral life and in the religion of his forebears. Although the mythology and ceremonials of their rural people would alone furnish material for many volumes, it is believed that even with the present comparatively brief treatment, to a comprehensive view of their character and activities will be gained. So his viewpoint before and while photographing these Native Americans is pretty grim. It's pretty pessimistic. And that kind of sentiment transfers onto his pictures. And there are many more from the website, from the Getty website, photographing the chiefs, using them as documents, but not just documents, not just reflections of this group of people, but also proactively defining them, proactively describing them, framing them into and or even if you like incarcerating them into a certain narrow negative that they are the vanishing race, that they are the glorious past that they have, they will not be able to go back to. So he's taken a lot of portraits, right? The different positions, different roles in the clan, in the indigenous people. Through the visual, through the photographs, to recreate this indigenous Native American, the stories of the Native American. And speaking of portraits, the Hollanday, the photographer who did this crucifixion, Hollanday also was interested in taking portraits, but portraits not just for people to keep as a keepsake, as a memory, but also some portraits to again proactively defining their identity. For example, in the late 19th century, the war, the defeat of Italian by the Abyssinian emperor in northern Ethiopia, and it provided Day with the inspiration for a series of heroic figure studies. So this is photographs, not so much a reflection of the reality, but a just like words, an assertion of certain opinions, certain viewpoints. For example, if an Ethiopian chief that he's asked by Day to dress up in a certain way to show off, right? To reveal his muscle, to show his confidence, in service of that heroic portrayal of this group of people, and also shows that he's inspired by the victory by this group of people. And also we have Alfred Stieglitz's friend and longtime partner and member of the individual photographers, Edward Steichen. His way of tackling this pictorialism is represented in this photograph called the flat iron. There's no short of information about this photograph online because how famous it is. It's colored. It's a platinum print. It's a bichromate, the gum bichromate, some kind of new treatment to it. But on top of that, Edward Steichen's added greenish color to the photograph as a way, right, to this black and white photograph as a way to add to it a tone, a color, a mood, to help bring out the color. The color helps bring out the sentiments. This aquarium sky to help bring out the gloomy, dark, and a little bit suppressed mood in downtown Manhattan. This building, right, towering in the middle over all the human being, over the capitalists, this symbols of capitalism, this middle class, or the figures who are walking in this gloomy day. This muted tones and the bold silhouette, right? The color, the aquarium, the aquamarine color, the bluish color, greenish aquamarine sky really enhances the sense of the muted tone and the bold silhouette, the shades of this Flatiron, the building, as a way, and uses it as a way to comment on the permanent structure of reality of this building. And this is way, as he says, that he's trying to immortalize a fleeting moment. A fleeting moment. That's very key to he's actually going beyond, right? Pictorialism, not just like painting, try to adhere itself to painting and make it look like art, but also exploring the skills, the possibility of photography as capturing the fleeting moment, of enhancing that fleeting moment, as immortalizing the fleeting moment. And very lastly, I would like to do a quick review of the characteristics of the pictorialism. So first of all, it's a concerted effort to create an artistic, almost painterly image rather than a record of an image. Painterly. Make it, show the painter's traces on the photograph while you are capturing the photo, or as you are developing the film, you name it. You come up with the way to add that human intervention to this photograph in order to really become art, right? So the image can be very picturesque, looks like picture, idyllic, or engagement with symbolism or allegory to convey a narrative. Allegory like this, Religious Subject Matter by Holland Day, highlights craft, genius, hand of the artist, make it handmade, show the brushwork, show the traces, like this one. Sketching or scratching the surface, the film. Interest in effect and patterns of natural lighting. Right? The photographers has to be really sensitive to the light, because the light helps you express the subject matters. Right? You want to soften the light, or you want to make it sharp. You want to maximize, I should say, that kind of contrast between black and white. So it's also through this pictorialism, artists had the chance to figure out what is artistic about photography. And they figure out many ways to make the photograph, to add all kinds of mood to it, atmospheric, poetic, or expressive. And very lastly, many of them uses soft focus to create, again, that kind of nostalgia or painterly look to the positive, to the photographs.